Ease our way back into the evening. Welcome again to Meditation Night from Cambridge Buddhist Centre. We have Vidyasaki with us.
Hello.
We have Samudra Ghosha with us. Hi, Samudra Ghosha.
Hi.
He's on his phone. I think he's doing something connected with us on the phone, so that's okay. And as an unexpected bonus guest, we've got somebody who was on holiday until about half an hour ago, and that's Liz. Liz has very kindly popped in to help us out with the technical challenges that we face. So, hi, Liz.
Hi.
Hi, welcome back.
Thanks.
Is it a nice holiday?
It's lovely, thank you.
Nice, but not very long. So, my name is Dharmanatha, and thank you for bearing with us coming back. And I'm glad the quality seems okay now. I'm hoping to run through what I've planned, but that does mean we'll run over by about 15 minutes. I think the team's okay with that. I'm hoping you're all okay with that. Obviously, if you have to go, that's just one of those things, isn't it? But rather than curtailing it too much, I was hoping to give you a reasonable length meditation, as well as a little bit of chat before we start. So I'm going to lead us in a mindfulness of breathing this evening, which will be a little different from the usual mindfulness of breathing. We've all been going a little bit off-piste, as it were, with the meditation practices to bring in the themes that we're looking at each week. And this week we're looking at spiritual rebirth. So you'll recognize some of the mindfulness of breathing, and then it will change and it will be something different. I'll say a little bit more about that before we meditate together. And this is week 7 of 8 meditation nights, entitled The Way to Full Potential, tying in with our Journey in the Guide course, which has been running on Saturdays. And we've been following this path to full potential, or we'd say enlightenment, the path to completely awakening. 5 great stages of practice: integration, positive emotion, spiritual death, spiritual rebirth, which we're looking at tonight, and spiritual receptivity, which runs through the entire runs as a thread through all these other practices, being receptive. And in the first half of this series, we were looking at integration and positive emotion, and there was quite a lot to do. And indeed, our 2 practices, the mindfulness of breathing and the metta bhavana, the cultivation of loving kindness, those 2 practices are very much about integration and positive emotion. So the mindfulness of breathing helps us to integrate our bodies, our breath, and our minds to bring us together, to integrate us. And of course, the metta bhavana is a positive emotion practice. We cultivate loving kindness, which is a positive emotion. The last 2 stages we're looking at, spiritual death and spiritual rebirth, can't be cultivated in the same sort of way. They're much more a result of flowering of our previous practice of integration and positive emotion. They are what comes through as we continue to practice, as we continue to let go of self. Something else comes through. And spiritual rebirth, I'm okay with it now, but I found the language a little tricky when I first encountered it. Spiritual to me sounded like something a bit unreal, a bit sort of spooky and unnatural. And I think rebirth had sort of echoes of the Christian notion of being born again, or having this road to Damascus moment where we have a sudden realization and we're completely changed overnight, as it were. And spiritual rebirth is not like either of those things. It's not unnatural. It's part of a natural process. It's part of our natural full development. It's what we will grow into if we practice and we overcome the obstacles that are in the way of our development. Obstacles like holding on to the notion of an existing, continuing, unchanging self. So while didn't I said we can't really do spiritual rebirth in the same way we can do the other stages. There are some things we can do. There are particularly some attitudes we can adopt. One attitude in particular, which is being receptive, being open, being alive to what might come through as we start to let go of self. And this can be really, in a way, it can be difficult to spot. It can be quite small glimpses of what letting go of self might be like, what spiritual rebirth might be like. And it can be quite dramatic. So I'm going to try and give you an example of both of those. So here's a dramatic one. And by the way, once again, we forgot, 2,500 years ago, we forgot to copyright this. So anybody can have these intimations of something beyond self. It's not restricted to Buddhists. And the first example I was going to give was from quite a long time before I'd had any contact with Buddhism. And it was when my first child was born, and she was placed in my arms. And this was quite a long time ago. And it was a long time ago tomorrow. It's her birthday tomorrow, and I'm sort of hoping she's not watching this because I can't. She's 36. She's 36 tomorrow. Happy birthday for tomorrow, if you ever do watch this, Emily. And when I held my daughter in my arms, I can really remember vividly the rush, the overwhelming rush of love that arose, and it was sort of so big that it, in a way, language is difficult, isn't it? It sort of knocked me out of the way. I knew it wasn't about me. It was a selfless love. And in a way, it was so big and so powerful that it felt almost a bit frightening. There was something other about it. It was opening me up to something else. And it was too big to hold on to in a way. So it sort of dissipated over time. Yeah, I still love my daughter. Again, just in case she ever watches this. But that overwhelming sense of love was almost too powerful to keep hold of. And I think I have smaller glimpses of what spiritual rebirth might actually feel like. So I get some glimpses on a regular basis. In fact, every other Thursday at about 7 o'clock, when I'm, well, about 7:30 tonight. So when I'm trying to convey to people what my experience is of my life, my practice in Buddhism. I'm trying to avoid the word teach because it's not really teaching. I'm certainly not a teacher. When I do that, something gets out of the way again. Something gets out of the way and allows me to connect more wholeheartedly, more openly with people, feel more connected with people. And there's something that gets out of the way is self, or attachment to self. ego. And I am really not short of ego. I've got plenty of ego. But there are occasions like this when it just seems to step aside, and I'm just able to be more genuine, I guess, more open, and sense something bigger that's available at these times to me and to all of us, I guess. The other thing we can do is use our imaginations to try and connect with what spiritual death and spiritual rebirth might be like. And you'll notice, I guess, even though we're moving on to spiritual rebirth from spiritual death, I'm using them in the same sentence a lot because spiritual rebirth is just the flip side of spiritual death. To the extent that we let go of self, we contact spiritual rebirth. It lays automatically, as it were, on the other side of spiritual death. So we can imagine. And here's a little paradox for you, and we do enter into some strange territory with all this. I've just seen there's 21 people. Sorry, briefly distracted by the numbers. In my defense, everybody, usually we just have a camera in front of us and no screen. I can see the screen tonight, so I can see the numbers. So welcome back, all of you, because some have joined since I started talking. And I hope you've picked up the thread of what I've been saying, which I've just sort of lost. Where was I? Oh, yes. So imagination. So we can't imagine. We can't imagine what being completely spiritually reborn, completely letting go of self. We really can't imagine what that is like. And we can only imagine. That's all we can do, is we can imagine. Yeah. And that rather neatly takes us towards our meditation tonight. And I wanted to say a little bit about the practice tonight, because it's going to be it's maybe something you haven't done before. So we are going to start off with the mindfulness of breathing, stage 1 of the mindfulness of breathing. And this is not just because we've undertaken to alternate the two practices, metta bhavana, mindfulness of breathing, metta bhavana, mindfulness of breathing. Which, by the by, we strongly suggest that in your own practice that you alternate these two practices, because as I suggested earlier on, they do slightly different things. They open us up in slightly different ways. But it's not just because I was told tonight is the mindfulness of breathing. The first stage will help us settle to come into a more significant contact, hopefully, with both our minds and our bodies through the breath. So helping us to arrive and to enter as best we can into a space that is quite focused and calm and open. So that's the first stage. In the second stage, I'm going to lead us in a practice called Buddha Nusati, or recollecting the Buddha. And some of you may have done practices like this before, and may have heard them called, in fact, I think I've called them this before. You may have heard them called visualization practices. And that again, that's not helpful language, I've realized, because we don't have to visualize when we engage with these practices. So I'm going to describe something to you in this meditation. There's no need to see or to try and see what I'm describing. There's no need to hear it or to feel it. There's no need to do anything other than just be with it as I'm describing it. Just stay with me, stay with each other, and just let what happens happen. So receptivity. So do your best to just be open and receptive to this practice, and don't try too hard. Hope that makes sense. Might make more sense when we come to the other side of the practice. Good. Okay, so making ourselves comfortable, getting ready to meditate. So it's getting chilly in the theatre, so you might hope it's not chilly in your houses, but if it is, then do make sure that you're warm. Because when you sit still we're only going to be meditating for maybe 20 minutes. But when we sit still, then we do tend to get a bit chilly, particularly when you're knocking on a bit, like me. You get subject to drafts and things like that. It can be uncomfortable. So wrap up well. Make sure that you are sat comfortably, that you have a firm connection with the ground. So if you're on a chair, that your feet are flat on the ground. Using a cushion if you need to, or some blankets under your feet. Yeah, and making sure that you've got a nice firm connection with the seat, with the cushion or the chair, depending on what you're sitting on. Your back's reasonably upright. That you are not. I seem to have frozen on the screen. Am I still coming through there? Okay. Oh, good. Okay. We never freeze in an attractive posture, do we? Notice that. Okay, so back's reasonably relaxed, but upright, allowing the back to follow its natural curves. Make sure that as best you can, that your hands are supported in some way, either on your lap, tucked into a blanket. You'll probably, if you've meditated before, you'll have a favourite way of doing this, something that works for you. And the head balanced on top of the spine, maybe tilted slightly forward. And now I'll invite you to close your eyes, if you'd like to. And we can feel our posture now. Feel how we are sitting. We notice that. Just been thinking about it. We can start making the transition to feeling. We can briefly run through any sensations in the body. You can start with the feet. Looking for any sensations in the feet. Maybe the contact with the ground, temperature, and anything else that's going on with the feet. Allowing the attention to move to the lower legs, to the calves and the shins. Noticing anything that's there. And it may be there's nothing going on in particular. That's okay as well. So we are noticing sensation and the absence of sensation. And moving our attention gently to the thighs, backs of the thighs, the front of the thighs. Now the pelvic area, the buttocks, the hips, groin. Aware of any sensation And whatever it is, letting it be there, letting it be how it is. Now the back, the lower back. The upper back, the shoulder blades, the shoulders themselves. The upper arms. The forearms. And the hands. Noticing what's there. Allowing our attention to move gently to the front of the torso, the chest and the belly. Noticing what's here. Perhaps the rise and the fall of these areas with the in-breath and the out-breath. And now the neck and the head. Becoming aware of the whole body. The whole body. Poised, upright, alert, and ready to meditate. The mindfulness of breathing. Becoming aware of the sensations of the breath. Perhaps taking a few deep breaths in and out. Just to notice what's happening. And if you've done this, allowing your breath to return to whatever pattern it likes just now. So allowing the breath to be. Not trying to change it. Just accepting how it is just now. Following the in-breath and the out-breath. And for this stage, we'll quietly, to ourselves, place a count at the end of the out-breath. We'll breathe in, Breathe out, 1. Breathe in, breathe out, 2. And we'll do this until we get to the 10th breath. And start all over again at 1, repeating the process. And if you become distracted or lose count, that's okay. We tend to get distracted. It's what our minds do. So just noticing what's happened as best you can, not judging it, and returning to the breath. If you've lost count, starting at 1 again. Recollecting the Buddha. We can still stay in touch with the breath and dropping the counting. And we are now in a forest grove. It's nighttime, and there is a full moon. The grove is bathed in soft, white light. We can see quite clearly. There is a clear stream flowing through the grove. There's no noise, No movement we're aware of. And in the grove there is a tall, spreading tree. Underneath the tree, a seat of grass. And on top of this seat sits a figure, dressed in the robes of a wanderer, seated cross-legged in meditation posture. One hand folded over the other. There is a gentle smile on his lips. His eyes are half closed. And he is very still. The only movement, the soft rise and fall of his chest and belly with the in-breath and the out-breath. Noticing how we are feeling now. Any sensations we're aware of? Particularly around the heart center. If there's nothing in particular there, that's fine. Just noticing. The figure under the tree is Siddhartha, the seeker of the truth. And as he meditates, he turns to the sensation of breathing. Soon his mind becomes concentrated, flexible, and calm. His attention deepens. Pleasure becomes joy. Joy becomes bliss. Bliss becomes one-pointedness and perfect equanimity. With this mind, integrated and radiantly positive, he turns his attention to how things truly are. And once again, turning our attention to how we are feeling. Any sensations, particularly around the heart center. Through the watches of the night, Siddhartha continues, absorbed in profound meditation, coursing in the mystery of how things are. He becomes fully awake, freed from greed, from hatred, from delusion. He becomes the Buddha. And once again, what can you feel now? Is the Buddha present to you in some way? And if he isn't, that's fine. So we're going to sit for just another minute or so. You can let go of any effort you may have been making. Continue to sit quietly. You can, of course, continue to sit with the Buddha if you wish. So do take your time. Take as much time as you need to gently let go of the practice. And if you've had your eyes closed, opening them whenever you're ready. And thank you so much, everybody, for staying. I can see that we've still got 20 people with us, which is great. So thank you for that. And if you're able to stay for a bit longer, then please feel free to post any questions or comments that you have.
Sam says, thank you for staying late. And Paul says, thank you also for persevering with the technology. I think people sound like they're grateful.
Great. Thanks, Sam. Well, thank you for staying, all of you as well. Yeah. Thanks for your patience. So Nicholas says, thank you. Yep. That's just Paul.
Well, that was very beautiful, the way you read that, with the forest grove and sitting with the Buddha.
Thank you.
Touched me.
Great, thank you. Jeremy, thank you. It is, yeah, I didn't mention that. I think it's a full moon tonight, Alison. I did check before I left. I meant to mention it to you before we started. I forgot. So thank you for bringing that up. Yes. When I cycle home, I think it should be moonrise by then. Yeah. Smiley face. I think it's a smiley face. No. Oh, it is a smiley face. Yes. Thanks, Alison. Technology can be a challenge sometimes, but I enjoyed the session. Happy birthday to your daughter. Oh, that's kind. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Selena. So do ask any questions you have. I know that I was having a conversation with somebody earlier in the week about how they found it difficult to ask questions because they thought they might be a bit silly or daft. And I know it's a bit trite to say this, and it's said a lot about there not being any stupid questions, but there really aren't. I guarantee you, if you're thinking of a question, if you think it's daft, somebody else will be thinking it as well. Not that it's daft, but we're thinking of the same question. And I have a raft of stupid answers, but there aren't any stupid questions.
Still haven't tempted them.
No, there's still 18 left. I have hopes. Dave Pearce's Folk Roots Songbook. Thank you.
That's his name. That first bit is the channel name. So that's David saying thank you.
Hi, David. Thank you. Sorry, I read out your entire title.
Can you see the comment from
Oh, we can. Paul. Yeah. Paul says, I'm sure you can all see this as well. He found the visualization quite powerful. This being the first time I've done such meditation. Is it known to be a powerful technique? Yes, it is. It is, Paul. And as we move into this territory of spiritual death and spiritual rebirth, we have to really ramp up the imagination. So, all of our practices we need to bring imagination to, and some of them require more than others. And I think this is a powerful practice. And it might be that it's not powerful for you now, but it might be later. So that's the other thing to say about practices, I think. If you just don't get on with it at all, do come back to it. That makes sense. Thanks.
For me, it sort of created a sort of a spaciousness, which I think is really helpful for just settling and sort of really flowing into just being in the grove and imagining a tree creates a spaciousness that feels like it just helps me kind of connect with the meditation.
Yeah. That's lovely, thank you. And it's yours as well, isn't it? It's your spaciousness, as it were. So you don't need to be bound by whoever's leading is saying. You can make use of that spaciousness for what comes through for you. Thank you. Selena, tonight was my first time visualizing something like that. Is it normally okay to maybe not have a great reaction? I didn't feel very joyful. It was powerful but challenging. Selena continues. Yes. I don't know, well, that's a big enough answer for you, Selena. Yeah, it's absolutely normal. Whatever our reaction is, whatever our response is, perhaps might be a better way of putting it, is okay. It's however you are, however the meditation is for you today, it's fine. Noticing how it is really useful, to noticing that you didn't feel particularly joyful. Maybe thinking or reflecting more about what did come up for you, how it was for you. So maybe it wasn't one thing, but what was it? If it wasn't joyful, was it? I'm not asking you putting you on the spot now, but perhaps for you to reflect upon, was it, what did come up if it wasn't joy? Oh yeah. Alison, please could you share donation link?
Just done it.
Yeah.
Twice accidentally.
Thank you. Yeah, great. Thank you. Thanks for coming, Alison. And yes, everybody, we have posted several times Perhaps just being a little bit pushy, we posted the donation link several times. We're just very grateful for any donations you can make. We're all in difficult times, aren't we? And I know some of you may not be able to give, and that's absolutely fine. If you can, we're very grateful. It goes to a good cause. It goes to helping us, continue sharing this with each other. Paul, thanks. It really worked for me tonight. It's great. Nicola, loving this YouTube connection with the Cambridge Buddhist Centre. Yeah, me most of the time as well. We all fell out of love with it a little bit earlier on tonight, but we're back with it now. Yeah. Selena, thank you. It's definitely given me something to think about. Great, thanks, Selena. Yeah, do come back to us. You're not on the course, are you? Selena's not on the course, no. Yeah, just come back to us maybe when you come to the Buddhist Centre in some way, shape, or form.
People who aren't on the course might be interested in signing up for Life with
They might. Thank you, Vidyasaki. Yes, we've got a new course starting, and we've got the person who's leading that course with us tonight, Samudra Ghosh, is going straight on to lead the Life with Full Attention course. That starts, Samudra Ghosh, he's going to come tell us.
Slightly course. October 17th, it's a Saturday morning course with these Thursday evenings as a kind of supplementary thing in the way that we're doing this at the moment. Yeah. Practical course in Buddhist mindfulness. Really good. There are testimonial videos on YouTube.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Samudra Ghosh. Thanks for reminding me, Vidyasaki. Yeah, please do. That'd be a great question for Samudra Ghosh. Whatever it is, when you've had a think, Selena, do join that course and ask Samudra Ghosh whatever questions you have about this practice.
Yeah, there's no charge.
It's a free course. It's another free course. Yeah.
I've posted that link twice as well, just for good measure.
Good. Yeah, so the link to the course, to signing up for the course is there. Yeah, we're delighted. We're really overjoyed to be able to offer this free of charge. It's particularly now, I think, for all of us, when we're entering this slightly sort of, in some ways, slightly dark autumn, aren't we? Because we're still faced with the coronavirus and all that comes with it. So it's beautiful. We're really happy we're able to offer something like this. And what comes next? Life with Full Attention. Good. I'm going to check that we've got nothing else. I'm aware that we've overstayed. Thank you so much for staying with us. Just check there's no other questions coming in. And having learnt my lesson, I'll close this formally.
Well, it's different.
In a minute. Oh, I've got to do it differently, have I?
You've got to press the button.
Have I?
This.
That button, but it isn't like my Mac, is it? I can't just press the screen.
Would you like me to
Thank you, everybody.
Would you like to say goodbye to your audience?
I think they've probably all gone now. No, they haven't. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for coming. See you again soon. See some of you on Saturday for Journey in the Guide. Thank you. Bye-bye.